Good, everybody. Joey
Hi.
J. Ping checking in live, man. RespectMyRegion.com. We're here on the debut episode of the Mississippi Cannabis Podcast. Yes, that's right, folks. Episode 1. First episode ever featuring a group in the South representing Mississippi. We've got Chrissy Harrell, FireCraft Cooperative. We've got Elizabeth Fader-Hosey here. We're going to talk a little bit about patient access with Elizabeth and the patient side of things today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Mississippi cannabis industry, leveraging Chrissy's experience with Leaflink, her current distribution company, all of her legacy partners that they've got there in Mississippi. We're going to talk about some of the rules. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. But before we get into all that, let me first say thank you, ladies, for being here with me today. Good morning. How are you guys doing down in Mississippi today?
Morning.
Awesome.
Doing well here in Mississippi. It's a beautiful day.
I love that. I appreciate you guys both being on the episode with me today. Chrissy, this is your first. Elizabeth, yours as well?
Yep.
Let's go. I love it when we get to break it in and start having a really, really powerful conversation. This is the first one. I've never, outside of Chrissy, I've never spoken to somebody from Mississippi in cannabis. It's something that, you know, when you talk to growers, when you talk to patients, we live our lives. We work, we grow the weed, the plants don't stop growing. If we're sick every day, we go to work, we come home, we smoke weed, we go to bed, whatever it is, right? And like, it doesn't leave a lot of room to go travel and learn and do all these things. And so, Chrissy, I met you, and I really appreciate having met you in person, because that means you got out of Mississippi to go network, to go learn, to go bring resources and value back to the state in which you operate in, back to patients like Elizabeth and the other people that are like her in the state, right? And so today we're going to break down your guys' backgrounds. We're going to talk a little bit about, you know, the patient side of stuff, the business side of stuff, and to kick things off first, Chrissy, FireCraft Cooperative, what is that? Who are you? What do you do with that company? And tell me a little bit about that ecosystem before we dive into the patient side of things.
Yes, thank you. So FireCraft Cooperative was born out of a real need in the industry for small operators to have more access to getting on dispensary shelves. As we know, in Mississippi, it's a very low barrier to entry. It was pretty easy to get a license. We have an open licensing setup here that anyone could really throw their hat in the ring for a pretty low cost. So that's what happened. Right now, we have 59 active micro cultivators and 60 some active tier 1 or larger. So it's a very saturated market.
For the size, right? Because that doesn't
comes,
seem like, comparatively to like the New York and the Cali and the Oklahoma, God forbid Oklahoma with their, and Oregon with their structure, right?
Yeah.
It's saturated in relativity to the size of Mississippi, right?
Correct. So we have about 55,000 patients right now. But when I started in the market, before the first sale was made, before the first product was shipped. I was out selling something that we didn't have COAs on yet in early 2023. And so then, we had about 2,000 people in the program at that point. So obviously, we're at 55,000 now. It's been a little bit slower than we would have liked, the growth on the patient side. There's a lot of reasons for that. Elizabeth can speak to that later. On the vendor side, there's a ton of suppliers. And so FireCraft is a distribution, the first of its kind in Mississippi. It's a unique business model that allows dispensaries to order from multiple small batch cultivators on one menu, one invoice, one point of contact, one manifest. So it's a convenience model. And it also kind of takes the go-to-market function off the shoulders of the small growers that are doing everything themselves, right? So we feel like we've found a way to add value to the little guys so we can compete with the MSOs and the bigger companies, and also add value to the dispensaries to make it convenient to order. So that's what FireCraft Cooperative is.
When you mean that these smaller operators do everything, right? What does that mean? What does that realistically mean to you? And these brands, what does that actually look like for you guys? What is doing everything for those operators really look like?
They're doing it all themselves. They're growing, they're turning over their rooms, they're doing everything involved on the cultivation side, and then they're trying to go out and sell. They're packaging, they're doing fulfillment, they're scheduling transport, they're handling invoicing, payment collection. And when it's a 1, 2, 3 person operation, Many of them are family owned and operated. People have day jobs. They jumped into this because they believed in providing high quality medicine to the patients of Mississippi.
Wow.
And so, when we can take the burden of the go to market function off their shoulders for a nominal variable fee, they only pay us when we have something to sell. So if they have a busted harvest or something happens, they have a delay, they fail for yeast and mold, they don't have that overhead of having a go to market team. So it's been a win-win, and it's also helped them save a lot of time and get some of their time back, so they're not in their grows till 2 a.m. every night. You can get burnout.
It's a lot because, like
it's
in Washington, they have to drive the deliveries themselves where we're from, or there's like one option called terpene transit where we're from. And so I think it's really, really powerful for you guys to be able to take all of that lift at the end of the day, which is growing, compliance and stickers and the sales element, and then you still got to get it there, which is on its own communication timeline. For you guys to be able to kind of minimize the risk or that lift for some of these groups, I think it's so valuable and powerful, because now you're providing opportunity to, like you said, there's roughly 8 groups on your in your ecosystem, and now they're all able to have a slice of a pie without having to do the song and dance and of retail sales, which is hard. It is so hard to sell to these dispensaries and be consistent because there's so many relationships all the time, right?
Yeah, so many vendors. It's we have an oversaturated market, so the retailers have all the power, which is typical of a lot of other markets. But in that scenario, we have to be able to offer something different to stay competitive and keep our shelf space. Because what I found when I was traveling around year one, talking to everybody, was that the dispensaries wanted to support the small growers. And I'm sure Elizabeth has heard this too. They want to keep the small Mississippi owned and operated cultivators alive with the small batch stuff. However, it was hard to find people, hard to get people to call them back. There were delays. Then you had to figure out, okay, it's $1,000 order. Who's going to pay for transport? When you're having to pay $75 for that order, that's 7.5% of the order just on transport. Wow. So there were just a lot of things that lined up for this to work. And it may be unique to Mississippi. I think it can work in other markets as well. We've done a really good job of keeping our cultivators happy and keeping our retail partners happy. So we just continue to grow and gain market share. And, we're really building community among these small growers. And I would love for Elizabeth to share a little bit about her journey to get here, starting as a patient to what she's doing now as a total badass cannabis queen in Mississippi, just getting stuff done. And it's
let's incredible. Go, cannabis queen. Elizabeth, sounds like you're up. So tell me a little bit about your background, what you're up to. I'm a medical patient in California. I was a medical patient in Seattle. Walk me through the current situation there in Mississippi, and what's that like for someone who might be sick or is sick and really needs this cannabis. What is the reality for you guys there today?
So the reality is the way the state has regulated this industry makes advertising illegal, essentially. And so businesses aren't allowed to advertise, and then the state's not really promoting its own program. And then the stigma here is so strong, and it's all kind of set up to be shrouded in secrecy. And what I found was, of course, for me, as soon as I found out I could get on the program, I did, because I've always been drawn to cannabis. When I would travel, I would go to recreational states, but I really wanted to figure out the efficacy. I wanted to know, like, is this legit? I entered it with skepticism. And so I started just documenting my journey and self-educating. I'm an attorney and I specialize in child advocacy. I'm a child abuse investigator, and I understand a lot about trauma, how it impacts the brain, how it impacts families, how it impacts society generationally. I've seen and lost personally a lot of people through addiction, alcohol, pills, cigarettes. And so I really kind of understood this profound nature of healing that our society needs to do. And through my own journey of cannabis, I found that this is a really great aid to that. And so as I'm talking about the program and sharing my joy with other people, they are telling me they're afraid. They want to know about the program. They're afraid to talk to their doctors. They don't want to get canceled by their doctor, which is
Right.
happening here. People are afraid to talk to their family members. I know several patients who've literally siblings are fighting over whether dying mom gets to be on cannabis,
Wow.
right? Families are being splintered apart
Wow.
over this.
Wow.
And then you've got people who are professionals in the community. They don't want people to know that they're on cannabis because of the stigma. For me, it's just the way my brain works is that it's safe. What's the problem, right? This is the
Right.
safest medicine. And I took it upon myself to become as educated as possible. I took a course, a college course, cannabis healthcare and medicine, online through, Greenflower EDU, so that I
Wow.
could really understand this. And in my process, I started an Instagram account, Mississippi Microdose.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mississippi underscore microdose on Instagram. And I started documenting my journey and kind of sharing these profound moments of healing when I realized I didn't need half a Xanax to go to court. I could take a microdose of a gummy, you
Wow.
know?
The
And
power,
so,
the power of that statement, the gravity of that is so like, wow. Because we here in America, you communicate anxiety, you communicate stress, you communicate anything. One of the first things they do is feed you pills, right?
yeah, yeah,
So it's like, oh, but the doctor recommended, oh, but insurance, oh, but big pharmacy, oh, but healthcare, oh, America says it's okay, so it must be okay. But what about the long term ramifications of choosing or having to feel like you have to do that? And that
yeah,
restricting access to other resources to people like this, right? The gravity of that statement, that's how you do it, right? Incredible. And so
yeah.
you're a patient. They're not promoting the access. There's a massive stigma there. It's still the South, right?
Hmm.
And people always say that it's years or decades or whatever behind, but the reality is that there's technology, there's science, there's still the news. But people in different regions care about different things, right? The reality for people for different communities is that it's different everywhere, right? What would you like to see change from a patient perspective about Mississippi? What would you, as a lawyer, as a patient, can those two worlds come together to help lay a foundation for better patient
Yes.
access or a
That
stronger ecosystem?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. Trying to do here in Biloxi right now is, so I came together with some small business owners and we started a political action committee, Mississippi
Mm,
Patient Voices, where we're capturing the testimony of patients around the state to talk about how it's impacted their quality of life and what stigmas that they have faced. And I've presented that data to our state's advisory council. Some of those recommendations actually, were, enacted through our legislation this year. They're trying to get telehealth implemented on the first go. That was a recommendation that Patient Voices made. We also work
mm.
to get, anxiety and sleep disorders added to the list of qualifying conditions. Unfortunately, that bill died in committee. The other thing I'm doing is I developed a program, an educational programming, concept called the Entourage House. I'm a
Okay.
huge proponent of using CBD along with THC. I believe in full plant medicine and that the two go hand in hand. And so in this concept, we are allowing patients to see medicine. It's a product show and tell style, program. I've got interactive lecture series with industry professionals. I interview cultivators, processors. I go help people buck and I trim and I talk about the process with people. And, right now I'm facing a huge stigma in Biloxi. The city doesn't even want me to talk to people here. They don't even
Mm,
want me to consult with patients about medical cannabis. They keep saying it's a controlled substance, but information isn't a controlled substance. So this
wow.
conversation is ongoing. But that's the level of stigma that we're facing here, is that
Crazy.
people don't even want me to talk about it, and that they just don't understand the program at all. They don't understand that there's no uniform standard of care because every single state has a different program with different
Mm-hmm.
laws and regulations, and that here in Mississippi, we can create our own standard of care through the laws and regulations that we have. And that is by, having a patient resource center in every community. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what the Entourage House aims to be, is a patient resource center, a place where there is no stigma, there is no shame. Everyone here is a patient. We all have shared experiences that we can grow and learn with each other. And that's really what it's about, is that connection and the education and freedom from stigma.
Absolutely. I'm looking through some of the notes that we shared offline and some of the things that you mentioned. So just to bring it back, summary, right? 55,000 current patients. Medical cannabis and the program there in Mississippi, 74% support. Entering year 3, roughly 199 licensed dispensaries, about 160 of them are open. There's 59 micro businesses, these craft businesses, right? 63 tier 1 or bigger, those are going to be the larger ones. 17 microprocessors, 20 tier 1 or larger. Chrissy, circling back to you, can you break down some of the details on which of those so that way the people across the country can understand the business side of what those licensing structures mean and what it applies to? What do they get when they get a tier 1 or bigger, or what is one of these microprocessors? Can you break down some of that vernacular for me so I can understand it better?
Sure. So, excuse me, the microprocessing and cultivation licenses, they do have weight limits associated
Okay.
with them. They are a more affordable license. It's much more of a boutique style of
Okay.
offering. We have cultivators that produce anywhere from 12 to 40 pounds a cycle in a micro cultivation license. And then the tier 1s are going to be producing kind of over 40 pounds up to over 100 pounds. If they're great growers. I know we have some that are bringing more lights online as they become more popular. So, it's a range. And I think the best position to be in Mississippi, honestly, as a cultivator, is a micro cultivator that sells out every cycle, because they're able to keep their costs down, especially if they're with FireCraft, and they can get that revenue, and they can have that business model where they're selling out and they're not piling up pounds and pounds of extra cannabis that they're going to end up having to sell cheaply for processing, or basically let it get
Oversupply
old in
kills
their
these
vault and
markets,
have
huh, Chrissy? That's what you've seen. You've been bouncing around. You saw Leaflink, right, when your experience there. The oversupply is what cripples these markets, huh? Because they don't cap it. They don't set the system up in place to
right.
protect it and to manage it. Because I
Right.
think it's partially because we're in America and just capitalism, right? Like, so I just think that we just kind of lean towards making decisions that kind of keep that system going around, which for better or for worse, I'll let people decide. But in this situation, we look at Oregon, we look at Oklahoma, which had no caps and very low barrier to entry in a lot of ways. We got, I think I saw for Hall of Flowers here in California, 1,100 retailers attending this next trade show. Like, there's 160 open in your state. Every market is so different. And again, going back, the reality in each community is different. Does Mississippi need 1,000 dispensaries? Does it need 100 million pounds of flour or whatever? Right? Like, in your world, what? And this is for you, Chrissy. In your world, what would what do you like about this current model, and maybe what would be something that you wish you would like to see changed over time? Is it deliveries? Is it event licenses? Maybe is it scale, size, quantity cap, whatever it is? What are some of your thoughts in terms of what you like about the system and what's successful about it, and what might be something you want to change?
So I do like that there's a low barrier to entry. I live in Louisiana, where I am a patient here, and Louisiana is controlled by one large company. And if an eighth in Louisiana is going to cost somebody 70, maybe
Wow.
$80 out the door for some mids. So I don't like that kind of market. I much prefer an open market like Mississippi. It keeps the cost down. It keeps the quality up. The patients win in that scenario. What I don't like about Mississippi is the way that the patients can buy the cannabis, the unit system that we have. The way it was developed, you originally got 6 units per week for a maximum of 24 a month, I think. Is that right, Elizabeth?
24 or 28, something around there. But yeah.
Wow.
Something like that. They were limited to 6 units a week, and a unit could be 1/8, or it could be a gram of a cart or a gram of concentrate. And I think we all know that a gram of concentrate and an eighth are not the same as far as, what you're going to get out of that. So I would like to see a more equitable system for purchasing the cannabis. I feel that the flower is in a real bottleneck the way it is right now. And flower and pre-rolls make up 62% of the market, or they did in 2024. So that is the majority of the Mississippi market. And I think there's a lot more potential. We have a lot of patients here, one of them being one of my business partners, that need more. This is someone that really needs 500 to 800 milligrams a day. And he can't get what he needs in the current system. We have a cap on concentrates at 60%.
So that means you can't make a concentrate that's greater than 60%. Is that THC or cannabinoids?
THC.
Yes, THC, and they have to water it down. So we're cutting things. So it's hurting the concentrate market. People want to buy the concentrates because it's not
telling me
medicine.
That the legislation set it up to a 60% concentrate cap, which encourages basically an illegal trap traditional market to automatically have higher things than that? Why would somebody want to be in the medical market if they're dying or if they're cancer and their practitioner person tells them you need to hit 1,600 to 3,000 milligrams of cannabis every day? You're going to have to go buy 5 to 10 grams of 60% stuff? That's a death sentence.
Adulterated with who knows what, people are putting fake terpenes on things, and it's like perfumey, and there's, we have a few really excellent concentrate makers here, but it's an abysmal situation. And
Can you be understanding if your product's 60% of the way is what it could be? I don't know.
It's really dumb. That's another thing we
Mississippi,
advocated
what's
for.
going on there? You legislators, man, what's up, man? We need to talk. We need y'all at the round table. Please, someone from Mississippi legislation, can y'all answer that question? Why? I call you Mississippi Chrissy. Chrissy, why? This is crazy. So, all right. So we have flower products. We have all the SKUs, right? You guys have tinctures, you have gummies, you guys have rosin, you have live resin, you have cured resin, right? We have all the different SKUs that basically exist all over the place. All right, so that's good. At least we're not doing anything super crazy in that regard, right? Do you guys allow? You mentioned the perfuming, the terpenes, fake, botanical, synthetic, artificial. Pick your word. There's all the types, right? Those are allowed? The infused pre-rolls and things like that there as well. So yeah, so this is a pretty normal market here, but with some very, very specific rules around some specific products. Now, let's just play devil's advocate here. What could we, as high-level patient, lawyer, cannabis industry expert between tech, sales, product creation, Chrissy, that's you. What could possibly have been the thinking to cap things like that?
Just people that don't know cannabis making laws about cannabis. And it happens time and again. Bureaucrats and elected officials make the laws and regulations, and they don't understand the plant. I mean, I will say the reason we even have medicinal cannabis in Mississippi is because the people 74%. Voted on it, and it passed with 74% of the vote. So the overwhelming majority of Mississippians believe that folks should have access to clean cannabis, right? So the legislature has that information, and they know that the people support this. We feel that if we could get if we could get the people to vote on rec, we feel that it would pass because the medical passed so high. We feel that we can get over 50 for rec, which would be amazing for Mississippi, not only economically, but also for the folks in bordering states that don't really have good options. Like me in Louisiana, like people in Alabama, which that's a whole different story. How that
my family's in Birmingham,
Tennessee, right? Exactly. So I don't want to complain too much about this market, because if you had told me 10 years ago that Mississippi was going to have medical cannabis, I probably would have told you
100%.
you were crazy.
We appreciate the
I
legislators. We
appreciate
appreciate legalization. Thank you for listening to the people of Mississippi and doing it, because in today's world, just because the people want it doesn't mean it's going to come true, right? So, like,
right.
crazy.
That's a tale as
Different
old as
episode
time.
today. Different episode than today. But the cool, like I said, we appreciate the legislation for what they've done. We appreciate the legislators for the work they put in. But ultimately, it's an imperfect system. It's early. We're only 3 years in. Anything 3 years old is still an infancy phase, right? And so there's
Yes.
obviously still room for improvement. So for any of these legislators watching, we don't have these conversations to promote brands and to promote markets and things. Like, we want to see growth. We want to see change. We want to see a continued effort towards getting it closer to what the people communicate that they want. There's 2 people here in Mississippi. We've got a patient and a business. We're coming together to talk about these issues, to highlight core things we want to see change or adopted or just considered at the end of the day, right? Right, ladies? We just want to know that things are considered. If we really honestly feel, and I know a lot of people in cannabis, we feel this way. We feel like legislators don't know cannabis at a very high level. We feel like they make decisions without spending the time and energy and research it takes to do this. Do we know if they watch these podcasts? Do we know if they know who the leaders are in the space? Do we know if they watch the interviews, or is it just the media? Is it just their friends and family in their ears? Are they really listening to us? And that's ultimately what we want, right, ladies? We want them to listen. We want to see growth. We want to see continued progress, right? I'm going to circle back to you, Elizabeth. Patient, right? Let's talk about some of the specific qualifications. I suffer from kidney stones. I've had kidney stones 15, 16, 17 times in my life. It's hard to say because you don't catch them every time. You're just dying in pain, right? And so does chronic pain or IBS or kidney stones, is that a qualifier? If I live there, would I be able to get a medical card?
I think if you found the right practitioner, you could travel under chronic pain with the frequent occurrence of the kidney stones and the pain. Like if you can show records saying, this happens this often, they're giving me this medication for pain, you could probably find a practitioner who would move you forward on that. But if you go in to just any practitioner saying, I've got kidney stones, they're probably not going to approve you for that. So that's
Yeah,
why
they're
it's
going to want to
important to
send me to
have.
the ER every time and rack up bills just to get Toradol or Tramadol or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think that would be between you and your practitioner. And that's what the wording of the statute is that you need to have an in fact in-person relationship with a certifying practitioner who can verify that, you suffer from the ailments listed.
100%. When
Statute.
for my card here in California, which recently I was told that I don't have the right one, which was crazy, because it works everywhere, including the same dispensary chains, other locations. So it was just, there's clearly, even in a Colorado, a Washington, and Oregon, and where I'm at in California, there's always been bells and whistles and loops and hoops and shits on fire that I got to jump through to get this stuff. You're telling me that I've had kidney stones 15 to 17, maybe 20 times in my short life here, 33 years old, and that I would have to practitioner shop to get approved for something? That
You
is
might.
that is insanity for me, especially considering it's already medically available, right? But it's okay. I understand. My mom's in Houston. They got medical cannabis. They limit the THC crazy. There's the less things are available or qualifications is what they say. There's a lot that goes into it. And every state, again, they have their own reality there. They have their own historical set of issues that is probably impacting the way they think, right? You know, I know everybody that's not in the South has these stereotypes about the South, right? But you guys live there. Are y'all from there? Y'all born and raised down there?
Yes.
All right, cool. So you guys know what I'm.
I am.
You're not Chrissy. Okay, well, Elizabeth, this question goes more so for you. So being
Okay.
born and raised from down there, and going back to Chrissy's statement about 10 years ago, there's no chance. I might, for me, I might have laughed in your face. My mom was telling me cannabis would never be legal in Texas. She was saying it's the same energy, bro,
Yeah.
right? But yet we've seen progress, right? And so, what are some of these things that might be holding Mississippi back. What is that stigma about cannabis that is a myth potentially that there might be stuck on? In other states, for example, you know how New York, they legalize it and there's like dispensaries everywhere. You could smoke weed at the airport, wherever you can smoke cigarettes, right? Caused a big problem, didn't it? Caused a massive issue for them, right? And so is it the fear of just weed being everywhere? Is it the fear of kids being at their elementary school and you walk by and you can smell it in the air? Like, what do you think, as a lawyer who understands the system and understands patience and advocacy, what might be some of these things that they're kind of stuck on?
Well, so we're in a very conservative climate down here. Everything is set up in such a way that the, paternalism, the patriarchy, white supremacy, all, we're still really segregated. We've still got communities where, there's only white high schools and there's black public schools. All of these systems were put in place intentionally to keep us ill-informed and separate from one another. And cannabis is no different. We know the history of cannabis prohibition, what it's rooted
Yep.
in. And those roots are still affecting us today in the South, in Mississippi. And, our legislature did not necessarily, give us a gift because they believe in us. They wanted to keep their jobs after the people spoke. So we only have this program because of ballot initiative that had the
Okay.
highest voter turnout in Mississippi history, highest voter turnout.
Wow.
Everyone was there. All right. Like it was Democrats and Republicans showed up for the weed. All right. It was a
Cool.
powerful day and to vote in
The
Mississippi.
word they call cannabis like a bipartisan issue or something like that, where we that's not something where we can come together. I don't know politics, but isn't
Yeah,
that something where
yeah.
we actually come together on this
Yes,
usually?
yes, yes, because there are people who, politically speaking, like I can't support them right now, but we all agree that cannabis is medicine, cannabis is safe, that we should have access to it, and that's where we agree. And everything else gets left behind because we care so much about this program, and and it I've had a lot of anger this past week in dealing with stigma. And I think about all the people who I've lost through addiction crises, alcohol, pills, tobacco. I think about a
The
lifetime.
justice system.
The justice system, one of the things I want to do is a mass expungement movement. I've helped people expunge their cannabis records before so that they could
Let's
get better
go.
jobs to pay, to get that raise. People couldn't get a raise because they had the
People couldn't get
felony
an
status.
apartment. They couldn't get a home.
Yeah, couldn't get a home. And so, a lot of people have suffered from this prohibition that was a failure, that was rooted in racist white nationalist policies. And that's the education that people need to understand. And people are still worried that, you're going to try pot and you're going to end up on heroin. That story is stuck in people's minds.
It's actually the
Religion's a big
reverse way. You're gonna
influence.
try heroin, and then you're gonna find out pot might save your life. Actually,
Yeah,
that's,
actually,
that's actually how that works.
and for me, like my thing is, I think life is a gateway drug, right? What do you get dealt to you? How much trauma are you exposed to early on? How much neurodivergence do you have? Their doctors aren't studying women's bodies. We're late in life diagnosed with neurodivergence that explains a lifetime of anxiety and depression that was only treated with pills when we just probably had an endocannabinoid deficiency our whole lives, and could have been using this. But we want to put kids on amphetamines instead of letting them try a plant. So I have a lot of anger about the destruction that prohibition has caused. And I'm, trying to channel that into a force for unapologetically standing on the fact that this is safe medicine and we should all have access to it.
To some extent, the people that are standing in the way of cannabis or making some of these laws, what they don't realize, this is what's crazy. What they don't realize is that there's someone with cancer or HIV or full blown AIDS or kidney stones right now, or they're literally binge drinking alcohol because the state that they live in has a culture and a stigma of cannabis not being allowed, or they're afraid to go to jail. My grandmother, 84 years old, RIP. I bring her up often because she never smoked weed in her life because she said, and I quote, it was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Not any other reason. Over the course of time I've been in cannabis, 8 years we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
That was the thing every time. Grandma, are you sure you're not lying to me? Grandma, are you sure? My other grandma, on the other hand, my grandpa was a runner for the cartel. Different cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
America has a history. We have a culture. A lot of people who are, I don't care about woke anything, but that are aware and are educated enough or that care about these things. I care about how my black friends are treated. I care about my Asian brothers. I care about my sisters. I care about all these different people. So if you care about these people or supposedly care about these people, how can we ignore that those people everyone's been affected by cancer? How can we be okay with pills and advertisements on TV, on ESPN? My mom takes one of those bipolar things that's on I literally see the news. I hear about it every time. I think about it every day because I hear it every day. It's like, that's okay, right? As the only option. And so I have a problem with that. And that's why I'm also unapologetically about this alongside you, Elizabeth. And I appreciate you being on the episode today. I want to take a moment to shout out our sponsor, Chrissy and FireCraft Co-op. Make sure you all tap in. Check out their website. Google them. They're there. Look them up on Instagram. They're there. I'll post it. I'll share it. I'll tap you guys in. Send me a DM. But this is what it's all about, guys. You have a dream. You have a goal. You grind. You get it. You create something. And I'm fired up now. So I'm going to keep asking some more questions and get back on track. Got me all hot and bothered over here, man. Okay. We're going to ask about the future of Mississippi. Let's take it a positive direction. What year will it go rec? Manifest? And what changes will be
Oh gosh.
what will be different when it's rec from now? This is your perfect situation. I want to hear Chrissy first on the business side, then we'll go to the patient side second.
Well, rec creates a huge accessible market. So it just opens it up and it reduces people's use of, product that isn't tested. So one of the biggest benefits to having a program is that you're having products that are tested at a lab. And there's problems with labs, but at least, we're reducing harm, right? People are going to smoke weed. They're going to use cannabis anyway. I think 75% of the cannabis used in the US is from the legacy market. So we're not there yet. And from a business perspective, obviously rec has to be the way because we have folks here who have built exorbitant facilities. If they were just building it for Mississippi, I don't know what they were thinking when they did that, but they've done it. I think maybe 2027 is our year. That's a good number. I like 2s and 7s. So I'm going to throw that out there. But, we just need to keep educating, keep bringing these legislatures into the conversation. We need to invite them to our facilities. We need to show them that this is not reefer madness. We need to try to break down these stigmas and judgments of what somebody who uses cannabis is. I and Elizabeth both use cannabis, and we are, I'm the best version of myself that I've ever been. I've never been better. And I attribute a lot of that to medicinal cannabis use. And so, we're just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep showing by example and working in our communities and trying to do this, from the roots up to enact change in our
I'm going to play devil's advocate about one point because I'm the host and I can. I'm going to play the role of the legislator here. Chrissy, you're the best you've ever been. Why do we need to increase the THC cap then? Why do we need to go?
Because I'm just one person. I don't have cancer. I don't have certain conditions that require more THC. There's no one size fits all. I might be a low dose person, but everyone's endocannabinoid system is completely different. So you need to be able to address the spectrum of folks who need this medicine, or else to me it's discriminatory.
What are some ways we could potentially do that to identify these different groups to get a better understanding? Is it surveys? Is it an event? Is it public speaking forums? What would you feel might be the best way to connect directly with the people, the 74% of Mississippi who voted for this?
Well, we can't advertise, so that's a challenge in itself. But, we have festivals, we have events, we can put informational flyers up in dispensaries, we can educate bud tenders. We that's really the key here. because the bud tenders are the front line to the patients, and they play such a critical role in how someone's experience is going to be with cannabis. So, we are trying to improve education and access and talk to bud tenders about, you have someone come in who's never used it before. They don't need a 60% vape. They don't need a 30% flower, right? Like, it's okay. Like, everybody has their own needs and their own way of consuming cannabis. A lot of people want it for the medicinal benefits and they don't want a head high. And that's completely fine. Yeah. Some people want that head high. Great. So it's just not a one size fits all. And we've never really had a source of, I'll say shout out to Mississippi for having a federal research cannabis grow at Ole Miss that I believe is the only one of its kind, which is kind of a cool fact about Mississippi cannabis. And they've passed a law.
That's actually been around pretty long. That thing's been around a long time.
It's been along since like the 60s maybe, or before then.
Yeah. So, I mean, all we can do is bring people into the conversation and answer questions and, try to get to that point of mutual gain where folks reduction. This is about improving quality of life. This is about keeping consumers safe with tested product. The only way we can do that is by expanding access. So
I have a quote here from ScienceDirect.com. While there is some evidence suggesting recreational marijuana dispensaries are associated with substantial increases in crime rates and disorder at the neighborhood level, Hughes, Scheibel, and Jimerson 2019, other studies have either demonstrated a crime-reducing effect from marijuana legalization or the operations of marijuana dispensaries. That's Brinkman and Mocklam 2019, Dragom, a variety of other people, all quoted 2019, 2020. But to continue it, other studies have either demonstrated a crime-reducing effect from marijuana legalization or the operation of marijuana dispensaries, or found little to no impact of legalization on crime. So no study saying, no true confirmation that it does either way just yet, according to these variety of studies, which is all a point to say that there's nothing proving that it increases crime. That's the whole point here. There's absolutely no full confirmation anywhere that says it increases crime across the board. The only thing that I will remind people of that it increases is tax revenue if done correctly. Because as you go rec, so comes tax revenue. That solves a variety of other infrastructure problems, teacher problems, schooling issues. Overall, the system increases beneficially in a positive way through the tax revenue with another stream, another thing. Right now, I couldn't go there and buy weed. So what am I going to go buy there? Nothing.
Well, you could actually use your medical card and likely get a temporary out-of-state patient card, and you could
they have that as part of your system
during that period. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, you would essentially just go to our online portal, upload your card, and pay your fee. And I think it's that simple.
Wow. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I had no clue that they also had that like kind of reciprocating opportunity. That's kind of similar to Hawaii.
We advocated to the advisory council on medical cannabis to enact reciprocity, but apparently that is something that the legislators don't want to hear about. And I think the future, our legislature is kind of in a weird period. There's kind of an old guard exiting right now, and it looks like some younger or other senators, Republicans in that group are willing to take a stand. There's been a lot of like top-down governance in Mississippi from the governor's office to the municipalities. So hopefully with some maybe rescheduling on the federal level, and maybe some shifts in our own legislature could benefit this program. But until then, I don't think our legislature is going to do much to promote access to the program.
That's an unfortunate thing, man. They're not going to promote their own ecosystem of businesses and tax dollars, grow the size. That's crazy to me.
That's what I said. I said the program, I told the program, this is amazing. Why is the state not advertising this and doing public service announcements to talk about it? And, like this is your program. It's amazing. Talk about it. So hopefully that'll start to come about in the next years as well.
Now, since we're not allowed to do traditional advertising, we're not allowed to promote specific things and all the stuff. Chrissy, normally I would ask you, what are your top 5 products within your ecosystem? I'd have you talk about your brands, but we can't do that today. So we're forced to have a conversation all about the industry there, the market, what we like, what we don't, what we want to see, maybe who's involved, who's a part of it. So, from a non-marketing perspective, right? Who are the dispensaries that exist that are trustworthy? Who are the brands that you as a consumer yourself just trust? Because this isn't about promoting it or marketing it. This is about just who are the ones that we can go to if we're a patient there. She said I could get my card. Where's the first place I should go if I'm from California with a medical patient, or from Oregon or Washington and I can go there? Where do I go in the capital of Mississippi to get a place to get something?
I would say, there's way too many to list. I work with about 130 of the dispensaries that are
Oh wow,
open in Mississippi. So,
dude,
there's a few.
that's a lot of dispensaries. 130 out of
Yeah.
160.
Yeah.
There
So
we
there's a
go.
few bad actors that are in that other group. But
Mm.
overall, I just find the
What,
retail owners and operators to be fantastic. I think the service is overall great. I can't really speak to it from the patient perspective, but as a vendor, I've never been stiffed payment or anything. People do what they say they're going to do. And
love that.
it's a very tight knit, small community. So you can't really go wrong. I mean, sometimes there are values on products, but that's, a lot of people are on Weed Maps or have a Leafly or, other personal websites that folks can go to check out pricing and product
That was going to
selection.
be my questions. If you're not able to talk about it, or we just want to say we love them all, that's just fine. I love that too. Where do I go to look that up then? What are those resources? Elizabeth, what sites do you use? Chrissy, where are your retailers listed? What does that look like for y'all?
So we have a couple of online resources that are really great, that people put together to find a dispensary near you, find a practitioner near you. And a lot of my Instagram is actually product reviews, and I visit different dispensaries. And so I would tell you, if you were coming here, that places like Root Down, or Starbuds, they're going to be most locations. If you want continuity, if you want diverse array of products, they do have great bud tenders. But then there's
Mm-hmm.
also smaller, dispensaries that are just owned by one person who are really passionate about what they do and their patient service oriented. On the coast, you've got Magnolia Healing. Over in Ocean Springs, they're right by the hospital. It's a discreet location. So I think it depends on the customer. Like, are you looking
Yeah,
for
yeah.
discretion? Are you looking for convenience? Are you shopping for price? Do you want a specific type of flower? Like, I think it just depends. Like, what are you shopping for? What are you looking for?
I always
And to
tell
tell
people
you
to
where to
shop how
go.
you normally shop, right? Like you have a standard, right, with everything. Like I don't see you ladies coming over here to LA and we go to the grossest looking food place. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like with the D score or the B score outside on the window, right? Like we're not doing that. You wouldn't normally do it, right? So I always tell people shop how you normally shop. Go to if you like the Target, if you like Walmart, if you shop at Grocery Outlet or whatever your guys is, there's the outlet stores for things, then there's the normal stuff, and there's whatever. Like do how you normally do it, right? If it's convenience, do that, right?
Yeah, and I think too, I remember originally being a patient being like, I can't find a dispensary. Where do I go? Like finding a dispensary near me was hard. I got the local Leaf
Really?
app, and that was helpful. And but as now time has gone by, there's a ton of dispensaries, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was a patient, a few months into year one, I think, and now finding a dispensary isn't as hard. But it's definitely relationships. Is how does that bud tender make you feel? Because if a bud tender is just trying to make a sale, or they try to like kind of diminish my selection, or
Yeah.
talk down to me, I'm out. And I think a lot of patients feel that way too.
We
So
would not. You
having
wouldn't want to be treated like that at the mall either if you were
no,
shopping for something. So
no.
I don't. Why is that kind of experience ever okay in cannabis? Why don't these managers have a better grip on the experience of their stores and the
Mhm.
way people are communicating? I get treated better at McDonald's sometimes than I do in a drive-through at McDonald's than I do at dispensaries, which is an insane truth.
Yeah.
Because if you
Yeah.
ask enough bud tenders, if you ask for every 10 bud tenders, majority of them will say they haven't had any training that week, that month, that anything. They just started, had a day of shadowing, and were kind of thrown to the floor. I don't know if that's true there, but where I'm from as a former bud tender, we got, gosh, I want to say we had 2 days of training, and then we were required to do a 20-hour course. We opened, and our whole store was medical in Washington. We were like 2 or 3 years into the rec market, and we were the only store that had all our staff medical. Think about that one, 450 locations, and you're one with everybody there is medical. How many other bud tenders didn't really know anything?
Yeah, so here the
Crazy.
bud tenders have to do like an 8-hour course, and then they're
Okay.
supposed to do 5 hours annually. I don't know that anyone's enforcing that, or that bud tenders are having to do that. They're doing that 5 hours annually. I'm not really sure how that's
Wow.
going.
Another powerful
But
statement.
yeah, so
We just want to see
so
improvement, folks. We just want to see improvement, folks.
yeah,
We're patient, man. We're sick. There's real people that are sick out there every day that need this, that the anxiety is crippling them. I used to get phone calls from a friend of mine, and she'd be on the freeway on the side of the road, unsafe in the first place, and then just sitting there panicking and unable to move is a whole nother thing to deal with, right?
yeah.
And so to think about how those kinds of how the different chronic conditions, the different serious illnesses, the different types of anxiety, depression, trauma that exists. There are so many things. It makes me sad. It makes me frustrated, but it also too it inspires me to have more of these podcasts, create more of this conversation, and try to have greater impact. Ladies, it's been a great conversation with you today. I have two more questions, one for each of you guys. I like at the end of the episodes, I like to give my guests the floor to share their whatever they'd like to talk about, to just have the space to ask for something or to share a game or inspire whatever it is. Chrissy, this is your episode. I appreciate you in every way for believing us, for being patient with me, for dealing with us to try to create this, for believing in this, and for caring enough about what you're doing to actually put your time and energy to build community and to educate. The things that Elizabeth has been talking about today are so important from a patient perspective, incredibly important from a patient perspective. And we didn't even get to market your brand or products at all, right? And that's due to the rules. That's due to all of it. And so it's just crazy because you're a brand in a national industry now, in a worldwide industry. And you, just the way the rules are set up for you today, you get less value out of this than everybody else we get to do this with because your state's government set it up. You should get the equal footing as anybody else.
Yeah, I don't feel, that it necessarily has to be about a brand. I think this is a grassroots movement that we need people to step up and do the work and build the community. And then I think, the success comes. I think if you're focused on the wrong, on the outcome, if you're so focused on money and revenue, you're not going to be successful in this industry. You have to have quality products that you can stand behind authentically, and you have to build the community, because people in the cannabis industry, they can see through the BS of, the Walmart weed and the corporate mindset. And so, I feel as long as I'm lifting up folks who are heart led and who are here for the right reasons and building the community, I always say there's room at the table. I just want to like who I'm eating with. And so we're trying to build that community in Mississippi. And I am so proud of everything that we've built so far and the group of people that have come together. A lot of people, yes, Mississippi, you can call it a flyover, you can call it, irrelevant in the cannabis industry, but we are changing people's lives here with this program. And we're going to continue to do that. I know, there's a lot of issues with the program, but the fact of the matter is 55,000 people are able to get clean medicine and reduce harm to themselves and improve their qualities of life. So as long as we're building to the right things and following our hearts, everything's going to be fine. So that's how I feel.
Love that. Let's go, man. Inspiring words from Mississippi Chrissy herself, man. Make sure y'all tap in, support. Elizabeth, I'd love to give you the floor as well. We talked a lot today about the patient system, some great dispensaries that you visited and support. some key issues you'd like to think. We made predictions about when it might go legal, right? So the time is yours. I appreciate you being a guest today.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, Chrissy, for inviting me to join you and being my sister in cannabis over here in Mississippi. Um, Go to Patient Voices, mspatientvoices.org, read about our organization, make a donation, send us an email, tell us about your story. You don't have to be from Mississippi. We want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then follow me on Instagram, Mississippi_microdose, to just see what we're doing down here in Mississippi. We're all not what you think. We're creative, passionate people who want to make lives better and just be ourselves and be healthy and enjoy life, because that's what this is about, is living our best lives.
Live your best life. Enjoy clean cannabis. Are we able to, as patients there, as just general customers there, are we able to promote things? Are we able to talk about
Yes.
stuff and all that? So we're good.
Yes.
They're not like
Yes. I
on
can
top of it.
tell
Okay,
you. I can tell you
okay.
all about it. I'm
I
not
love it.
bound
Okay,
by
well, we
those
got to revisit that and
regulations.
do some more of that. You know what I'm saying? Down the road,
Yeah.
we gotta definitely make some lists for Mississippi and give people some solid recommendations on behalf of these brands, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, business is an art. Being a brand
Yep.
is an art. And third and finally, in cannabis is an art. And to do all
Yes.
of those three things is amazing, no matter what the legislative systems are that are in place. To do it in Cali, Oregon, Washington, Cali, Iowa, Vermont. I saw Vermont had cannabis. I didn't know anything about Vermont. Mississippi. All of these different places now
Yeah.
have these programs, have these markets in place. It is so cool and an honor to learn from both of y'all and to be able to connect. I hope that the people there in Mississippi can find this valuable. Chrissy, again, I appreciate you. Big shout out to FireCraft Cooperative. Make sure you all tap in, like, follow, subscribe. You guys can talk as much shit as me as you like, but these two here are really, really doing great things down there in Mississippi. So be sure to support them. Y'all, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank
Mississippi Cannabis
you.
Podcast, Joey J. Ping, Elizabeth Ederhosey, Mississippi Chrissy in the building. Let's go. We're going to see y'all next time. Love you.